When I saw this macaroni and cheese colored mid-century modern dresser, I had to buy it and see what was underneath that paint. Hi, I'm Carmen with Painted and Planted, and this is how I spent my summer peeling paint off of a dresser. One evening, there was a small area on the top of the dresser where the paint had started to peel off. So, of course, I had to pick at it. And soon, I was peeling off large strips of paint. One of my furniture flipping friends said it reminded her of peeling a sunburn. And yes, it was so satisfying. So it was kind of fun to see just like how big of a strip of paint I could get off of it. What was great, though, is I noticed that the more paint that I peeled, the more perfect wood veneer I was revealing. I wasn't finding any scratches or watermarks or other reasons why somebody had chosen to cover this up. When you buy a painted dresser, you never know what you're going to get underneath, and a lot of times it was painted because there was something that they needed to hide. But the more I peeled, the more hopeful I got that maybe I had just found a treasure underneath all of this orange paint. The drawers were the same as the top. The paint would just peel off. What I would do is I'd place them in the hot Arizona sun for a little bit, and I think that would help soften the paint. And then I would try to get as much as I could in one strip. It kind of became a little bit of a game to me to see if I could peel off the entire front of a drawer in one piece. This was the closest that I ever got. I did discover, though, that there was a layer of white paint underneath the mac and cheese colored paint. I don't think it's primer because it really comes off super easy. So I think it's just another layer of latex paint. In order to get the white off, I use my Carbide Scraper. Carbide scrapers are a fantastic tool for getting an old finish off of wood. You'd think that they would scratch or damage the wood, but they don't. It's just a super sharp blade that you drag across the surface, and it takes off that top layer without damaging the wood. It does make a little bit of a scraping sound, but I don't mind, and I find it incredibly satisfying. I really try to do as much of my furniture restoration as I can without using any harmful chemicals, and it kind of became a challenge for me with this dresser. I didn't want to use any of the chemical strippers that smell bad, and they're a mess to clean up and dispose of. So here you can see everything's looking really good with this piece. But I did have to get my heat gun out to get into some of the smaller areas. These small surface areas were a little bit harder to peel, and it's very difficult to get my scraper in there. So once the paint was softened with the heat gun, I was able to go in and scrape it away, and in some cases peel it away. Once again, I didn't want to use chemicals, and by peeling the paint from these curved areas, it made sure that I didn't damage the dresser, because I really wanted to do everything I could to restore it back to its original beauty. So things were looking pretty good, one drawer at a time. I got it stripped down, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I was not finding any veneer damage. But then I flipped it over. Not only did I find more mac and cheese paint, but I found all these adorable little doodles and cute little sayings and drawings that really just kind of made me smile and gave the dresser some personality. I could tell it had been in a young girl, maybe teenager's room, and I'm actually thinking maybe the paint helped protect it. Took off the legs, used my Carbide Scraper to get all of the mac and cheese colored paint off of it. And then this is a little trick that I love. I will take the leg, put it in my electric drill, grab my sanding pad, and let the drill do the work. Before you know it, you've got soft, smooth legs. So flipping it over exposed more areas of paint that I needed to go in and remove, things that had been hidden from above. I was really starting to wonder what on earth I had done, and I never want to unpaint a dresser in the middle of summer again. Once I had most of the paint off, I had to go over the entire dresser with acetone and steel wool. What this does is it removes any of the paint that's caught inside the wood grain, and it's going to ensure that when I put the stain and the polyurethane on it, that I don't have white and yellow flecks. It took a long time, and I had to do really small sections because the Arizona heat makes the acetone dry super, super fast. After I went over the whole dresser with acetone, then I wiped it down with warm water, and I started to apply my stain. I used a oil-based stain to really get into the wood grain, and I wanted something that would be as close to what I thought the original color of the dresser was, so I used the color Early American by Varathane. I forgot to film staining the tops and the sides, but I'm sure you've seen plenty of those videos. So here's what it looked like after one application of the stain. There was only a few very minor spots that I had to go in with my wood pencils to blend a little bit. The majority of it was just in absolute perfect condition. I did have a few areas on the inside of the dresser that I hadn't completely stripped, and I thought about leaving them just kind of for fun, but I am a perfectionist, so what I did is I went back in with this kind of wood-colored brown paint and covered up the inside support beams and the dresser boxes. Now, some people may not have done this because you really can't see it, but whenever you're taking the drawers in and out or moving it, you would be able to see it. And I've done this much and I've worked this hard, I may as well do the entire job right. So after I cleaned that up a little bit, then I started applying my polyurethane. For this project, I used a Wipe On Poly. It was the first time I've used Wipe On Poly, and I will definitely be using it again for my wood projects. I use this little sponge that I pick up at the Dollar Tree in packs of like 6, I think, for $1.25. Put it on in nice, long, even strokes. Let it dry for 24 hours, and then I went in and did a light sanding with brown paper bag. Brown paper bag acts as a fine grain sandpaper, and it just smooths out any dust, air bubbles, any imperfections. I did that 3 times until I had a nice coat of polyurethane. So here's where we started, and here is where we ended. I really feel like this was probably a once-in-a-lifetime find. Usually when people paint things, they're hiding something, but in this case, they were hiding a perfect mid-century modern 9-drawer dresser. I could not be happier with the results, and I just love the way this turned out. It has such depth and shine to it, and it got a paws up of approval from my dog. After a month and a half of work, I posted it and sold it within hours. If you like to see this kind of furniture flip and unpainting, like and subscribe for more.